Everybody, it's Wanda Baader here from Strategize Your Success, and today I'm being joined by two lovely ladies to talk about conquer and cultivate. And what that basically means is how to change your chaotic situations into some clarity. And we've got Angela and Erin on the call today to actually talk about the subject. And I am just so happy to have the two of you here. And I love this topic. And I'm really hoping that people will join in and ask some awesome questions of you, Angela, as you do your presentation. I know that we will, right, Erin?
Yeah, yeah,
And so, if I could, Angela, could you go ahead and give us a full introduction about you and your business and what you do?
Of course. Well, hey there, Erin. Hey there, Wanda. So good to be here with both of you. And hey there to everyone in the virtual world. Please definitely give us a hello and let us know that you're there. So, I'm Angela Garmon, founder and CEO for ARG Coaching and Consulting Group, which is a change management consulting firm that enables our clients to align, redefine, and grow through change. So with through ARG, we work with organizations, teams, and their leaders really to help them manage change by equipping them with the right tools necessary to manage change. I'm super excited because I just recently launched Conquer and Cultivate at conquerandcultivate.com, which is really focused on the woman, the busy woman professional. And so super excited to be part of this conversation with you ladies today. A little bit about my background. So I do have a master's in human dynamics and a Six Sigma green belt. So today you'll hear a bit of the tactical, along with just kind of the also the positive psychology side, which is where my coaching certification is from as well. So super excited. I'll hand it over to you, Erin and Wanda, and we'll get started soon.
Well, thank you so much. And Erin, you are up, my friend. And Erin is joining us virtually from San Antonio today, so she's traveling. And so bear with us with our technology. We are doing the best we can here to get Erin in.
well, thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I'm super excited to be part of the conversation about change and how to conquer those feelings. And I think it's important, especially as a female, just to be able to be part of this conversation. So thank you both. But yeah, my name is Errin Mendibles. I am a person with Solar Pros AZ. I'm marketing and engagement in the community. And we are one of the only companies in Tucson that does local installation and a multitude of things with solar, which has been exciting. I kind of fell into solar and haven't left it yet. So I'm excited that I've learned a lot in the last year, but lots of change for myself. So when Wanda told me what the topic was, I was like, of course I will be part of that. So I'm excited and I can't wait to learn something as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Erin. We really appreciate you being here. And last but not least, as I mentioned when we started the show, I'm Wanda Baader from Strategize Your Success, and you can reach me at strategizeyoursuccess.com. We are a full service online marketing agency helping busy entrepreneurs and small business owners get found online. And we're thrilled that you're here joining us. So I'd love to hear from you. If you're in the audience, give us a hello and let us know that you're there. And especially let us know if you have some awesome questions of Angela. Angela, I'm going to go ahead and get you started on your presentation and letting people know more about the Cultivate and Conquer, or Conquer and Cultivate. Sorry, I got it backwards there.
No worries, Wanda. So, first of all, I love engagement. So, please definitely ask questions if you want to provide comments. But my goodness, right? The last 2 years have been a whirlwind of experiences and emotions, right? So, in some moments, it seemed like time might have flown by, and in other instances, it seems like time had just literally stopped. So I don't believe that I'm alone, but is it just me, or do we feel like we were all forced into this big time out? So we were
Yeah.
all pushed into the corner, into our own separate corners of our homes. and all we really wanted to do was come out and play. Many of us are still wondering right now, is it okay? Is it safe? And so if you're anything like me, at some point you might have wondered, how am I going to get through this? Why am I feeling so overwhelmed? And the one that's probably most famous, when is this gonna be over? I mean, all of us, as I talk to so many different people in my life, and just some of them that were really struggling to kind of see through the chaos, a lot of women, a lot of people in general were feeling so alone. And so, if anybody can relate, please go ahead and drop comments in the comments because I would love to know if this is resonating with you. And Wanda, please stop me if anyone says anything because I can't see the comments. But so many people had to start life all over, and in many cases alone. So we lost loved ones, we lost friends, we lost our furry babies in some instances, right? And so, how do you go through life, in this season where you might feel a little bit stuck, when life is a little bit chaotic? And then, as you're watching the world and you're watching what's going on around you, there are some people and some businesses that are just flourishing. And how does that happen? So, my daughter reminds me quite often that duality exists. She has to remind me of that. But for you guys, I just want you to remember, I think it was President Roosevelt that said, comparison is the thief of joy. And so while we're kind of stuck in our own situations, I just want you to be cognizant of not comparing your situation to the situations of what other people are doing. So before we even get started, I would love to just for you to either drop one word in the chat that is describing how you're feeling right now. What are some of the emotions that you might have, whether that's positive emotions or maybe some of those tough emotions like overwhelmed or
Mhm.
frustrated? Just drop some of those emotions. And if you're watching this on replay, please feel free to drop some of those comments and some of those emotions that you might be feeling right now as well, because we'll be able to see that in the replay as well. But do you have clarity right now? Or are you still consumed by the chaos? Are you dealing with the aftermath or have you started to move forward? Either way, by the end of our conversation today, my hope is that you turn your chaos into clarity so that you're able to conquer change and cultivate results. And if you have clarity, then I hope that you're able to gain additional tips and tools that will enable you to conquer and cultivate even more. So, for those of you who might be just joining us, I'm Angela Garmon, founder and CEO of ARG Coaching and Consulting Group. And so, I just really want to talk to you today just about strengthening your resilience and confidence as you conquer and cultivate by shifting your chaos into clarity. So, I want to give you three quick tips on how you can really transition and really clarify the season or have clarity in your world despite what you're going through. So I want to start off with this really quick story, and I thought it would kind of help me illustrate the first point, the first tip. So a few years ago, I was talking with another woman who owns a business as well. I think she had been in business for over 20 plus years. And so whenever I get around women who are more seasoned and more experienced, I always ask them a few questions just about how did they get to the point to where they are today. And so as she was telling me about how her business had evolved over the years, some of the things that she had gone through. And so during the last economic downturn, she was able to actually grow her business by shifting her focus off of what couldn't be done to what needed to be done. And by doing so, she was able to keep her business afloat and to find some new revenue streams. And truly, she had embraced the season that she was in. She understood what had transpired and was able to put a plan together to move her team forward and to move her organization forward. So she focused on those things that were literally within her control. And so, my first tip for you today is embrace what is going on in your life. And I know that might sound crazy to some of you, and some of you might be ready to like hit disconnect on the computer right now, but don't. Please wait. I want you guys to really think about it, because embracing the change doesn't mean that you like what is going on, right? It simply means that you are accepting it for what it is. So Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. So if you continue to resist what life is giving you, then you will continue to attract and magnify its effects. So, what does resisting sound like? Resisting sound might sound something like, and this is kind of those internal conversations and sometimes those external conversations that we might have with other people. I don't think that I can make it through this. I should just give up. This
Mhm.
isn't fair. Why me? So, my question for you today is, what are you resisting?
Mhm.
And so here are some questions that you can ask yourself to stop resisting what is happening, and some ways that you can actually start moving yourself forward, right? So what am I grateful for in this moment? How is this shaping me into being a better person? What am I gaining from this? So when you're embracing the season that you're in, it just simply means that you're accepting it for what it is. And you're being grateful for some of the positive, you're celebrating the positive wins that are going on in your life, and you're reframing what is going on around you. So now that you've embraced the season that you're in, or embraced your situation, so let's talk about moving on into the next tip. So, for those of you who might know me, you might know that I love jigsaw puzzles. So, is there anybody out there, Wanda, Erin, do you guys love jigsaw puzzles? I see one.
No.
No, no.
I'm more of a crossword puzzle person versus a jigsaw person. So, yeah.
Okay. I can see that. I love crosswords as well. But you know what I love about both crosswords and jigsaw, right? Is that they're both solvable. So, sometimes we go at life like a mystery instead of a puzzle that we can really put together. Well, when you think about jigsaw puzzles, so the first time I tried to do a 3D puzzle, I was kind of like, okay, how do I do this, right? So it was a huge challenge for me. But when you think about like even a thousand, let's not even look at the 3D, but let's look at the 1,000-piece puzzle that might be sprawled out in front of you. Sometimes it can be extremely overwhelming as you're looking at all of these pieces that are on the table. You might even say,
Mhm.
hey, where do I even start? Well, you
Mhm.
start one piece at a time. So first, the way that I start is I start putting together the edges, right? And then I start to group the colors. And then before you know it, you have an entire puzzle that you just put together, 1,000 pieces, right? Well, when you look at life situations and when life becomes so overwhelming and so complex, it typically sends us on a spiral because we are out of control. Primarily because we're looking at all of the pieces of our life just kind of sprawled out. We're looking at the disruption, we're looking at the chaos, we're listening to the noise, and we're
Mhm.
literally trying to tackle it all at once. So, my second tip for you is to take small, manageable steps. And by doing so, you will eliminate some of that chaos and it will ultimately begin to move you forward. And before you know it, you have accomplished more than you know. You have moved through this season. I was speaking with someone the other day, and this is just kind of a note that just popped up, but I was speaking to someone the other day, and we were just talking about different seasons. And even we started talking about just kind of the storms of life, right? You got to move through those storms. so many times, sometimes we have to sit on the side of the road. Some people will sit on the side of the road, and other people will just keep going through. When you think about some of the seasons of your life, you can't just push pause, right? You can't just stay stuck for too long. Sometimes you just have to move through that storm. You have to have enough faith in yourself and faith in your belief, if you believe in God, to keep that something is moving you forward. So keep pushing through it. So what are those small manageable steps that you can take that will let you be productive and that will allow you to move forward? So tip one, just as a reminder, embrace your situation. Tip two is take those small manageable steps. So every single day, take a step. And sometimes in each moment, you might have to remind yourself to be intentional and to take those steps to move yourself forward. Remember, don't try to tackle it all at once, but one piece at a time. Okay. So, tip number three. So, when you are going through a tough season of change, you can sometimes lose sight of the big picture. We tend to focus on what is right in front of us, right? We tend to focus on the chaos. I just posted about this last week. But when you lose focus of your life or when you lack direction, you can feel stuck. It will leave you stuck. And I've been there before. So, what I want you to remember is to refocus quickly. So just like those puzzle pieces, your life has a bigger picture. So it might be a little bit chaotic right now, but you have a vision for your life. So tip three is to really focus on your vision. When seasons are really, really tough, don't focus on the actual season that you're going through, but focus on the bigger picture. Focus on your vision. Bring purpose back into your life. So get rid of that chaos by bringing purpose back into your life and allow your vision to guide you and to bring you clarity. So some of you might be thinking, Angela, what vision? Because I have been there before where everything had just started coming at me all at once. And I was thinking, where is my life going? What is life? What is life? Sometimes I'm like, what is this? And so if you're unclear about your vision, your purpose, create one. How do you want life to look in 30 days? How do you want life to look in 60 days? If you're like me, I tend to be more of a broader vision person. So I will literally say, okay, I want to be here in the next year or two. And I will start making a plan. Again, those small manageable steps to get me towards where I'm going. So I want you to remember that you are not your circumstance. So whatever you're going through right now, you are not your circumstance. You are not your situation. And you define your own future and your success. So what is your vision? So tip number one is embrace that season. Embrace the season that you're in. Stop resisting it, because resisting it is only going to bring you more and more of what it's giving you right now. Take small, manageable steps. Don't try to tackle everything all at once. Don't, if you can, every single day when you get up, write a list, make a list for yourself, set some goals. But most importantly, remember to celebrate those small victories in the day. I remember, when I was going through a tough season, every night I would intentionally say, this is what I'm grateful for. And it might have been as simple as, hey, I brought a smile to somebody's face, or this person brought a smile to my face. So it doesn't have to be huge, just small celebrations. And then three, focus on your vision. So bring purpose back in your life. Focus on what is important to you and move through that season. Clarify your vision and move through that season with purpose so that you can conquer change and cultivate results. Wanda, Erin, what questions or thoughts do you
Well,
have?
actually, I did want to bring up, and I'll show it on the screen. We
Mhm,
have Krista Martinez, who said it was really hard. She's coming in from LinkedIn. It was
mhm,
really hard. I was already working remotely, but my family members were mere miles away.
right,
But I didn't see them for nearly the full 2 years. That
mhm.
was tough,
Yeah.
and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Krista, for sharing that. We're going to put that up on the screen.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything that you'd like to share with Krista? I know it's like you've shared a lot since she initially made this comment,
Mhm.
but it's just like I think we can all relate.
Yeah. And Krista, you probably already know this, but the one thing that I believe that the pandemic really taught us is that we can connect with other people. That we have to connect with other people. We're missing it, right? So, typically when I'm going through seasons of change, we really have to think outside of the box. How can I still get the same? How can I still build the same connections? Have the same connections but do it differently. And so, you just have to really begin to think of innovative ways to really connect with people, to be creative, even if it's like sending them a cute little letter or sending them a card or, my daughter and I, what is it called? Prime actually does watch parties now. And so we would have watch parties because she lives in California and I'm here in Arizona. So we would have watch parties once a week that kind of brought us together on the weekend. And we're watching the same movie at the same time. Sometimes we'll pause it and have a conversation. But you just kind of think out of the box a little bit to where you can still have that sense of community.
And I think it's important to, at least for myself, as you said in the beginning, to not compare. Social
Mhm,
media is so easy, LinkedIn to see what others are doing and embrace without comparison is something that
mhm.
I would imagine is, for myself at least, I can speak on that, is hard. Your second point, don't hold back, don't stop. So pivot without pause, I think is
Mhm,
what I hear you saying. And
mhm.
that is something that is important to do, but probably very difficult. And
Yeah.
I can speak for myself that taking that pause is easier to do, to just
Mhm.
sit down and say
Yeah,
but writing cards, that's one of my favorite things to do, is send a
yeah.
card to people. I love getting certain stamps and then certain cards, note cards, and send those in the mail. Everyone loves to get something in the mail when it's not a bill. So
Right.
I agree with you there, Angela. That's always
Right,
a fun thing to receive a fun card. So
right, right. And I'll just wanna say, hey, Devana, hey, Melissa, and Krista. I
hey,
saw you guys in the
Melissa.
comments, so just wanted to say hello to you out there.
Yes, yes.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Well, I would say to our audience, first of all, make sure that if you have anything that you would like Angela to address, we see most of the platforms that are coming in. Twitter, unfortunately, I don't think is one of the ones that we're allowed to see any questions from. But
Mhm.
if you're joining us from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, we can certainly see any requests that you have of Angela's mind here and all the awesome things that she can share with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like Melissa is saying, "Hey,"
Yeah,
and she's also saying comparison is toxic. Agree with that.
it
So
is.
Mhm.
It
Yeah, and I
is.
think that's hard, I mean, how do you social media really was a savior, I would
Mhm.
say, during COVID. TikTok blew up, because of COVID.
Yeah.
But how do you suggest, I mean, younger people on there, realizing that they don't look a certain way or they don't have that certain job? I mean, and not just younger, I mean, myself included, I've looked at people and, oh my gosh, they've done so much,
Mhm.
and then I have to be reminded, so have you. So
Mhm.
how do you suggest people deal with comparison?
I think comparison is one of those things that is definitely tough, Erin. But what I always, again, if you're focused on doing what it is you were called to do, focused on
Mm-hmm.
doing what it is that you're passionate about, then I don't know if you necessarily. I've learned that it really shifts my focus onto competing with myself. Like, where do I want to
Mm-hmm.
get to? What is it that I'm great at? And how do I show up authentically me, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that instead of comparing myself to others, I think about my authenticity. What do I bring to the table, and how do I show up in whatever space I'm in that way?
Yeah.
And I think that that has been able to help me. And then also, if I'm comparing, then I would almost question, Angela, why?
Mhm.
What, and especially because there's sometimes, a lot of times with comparison, there's some type of emotion that's evoked with that comparison.
Right.
What is that? And then how can I begin to really address that emotion within me, right? Because that's it. I'm internalizing something some way. And so, how
Yeah.
do I now address whatever that emotion is, whatever that situation is, so that I can address what I have going on the inside and move myself forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And how do you talk with young kids? I mean, middle school, for instance. I'm already hearing my daughter talk about what someone else is doing and they're not. I mean, she is not on social media, so she's learning this skill just at school, and it's hard. And you talk about having a daughter. Did she have those conversations with you, and how did you kind of combat those things?
oh my goodness, let me think about me and my daughter. So first of all, Janae Melissa, she is kind of charting her own course, right? I always say Janae is everything that I'm not. So Janae is an actor in Hollywood. She lives in Hollywood. So she kind of lives her life kind of independently. Aside from we're mamas, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have our own vision for their life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the first thing that I would say with Janae and I is just again, my first question. I mean, Janae's 26, but I would just ask her, you know, um, essentially, what is she gaining through the comparison? So is it, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and again, Janae should probably be like a philosopher, but literally, but what are you comparing yourself and why? Because
Yeah.
then at that point, then we can begin to again address some of the different issues. What are you internalizing? And I
Yeah.
think because your daughter is a middle schooler, I think when Janae was that age, whatever it is that she was going through, whether it was from her looks. I mean, we grew up here. She grew up here in
Mm-hmm.
Scottsdale. She spent
Mm-hmm.
most of her time in Scottsdale, and so even teaching her how to embrace her natural feminine,
Mm-hmm.
her natural hair or
Yeah.
her natural looks, right? So I would always get her books that would really help her to embrace who who she is. So I would
Yeah.
teach her who she was, help her learn, and I guess I shouldn't say teach her who she is. I would help her learn who she was by asking her probing questions and making
Yeah.
her, finding out how she can appreciate herself.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And so
love that. Yeah. I think, it was hard for COVID
yeah.
anyway, but middle school is hard no matter what. And then you add in all of the elements that
Mhm.
came in and it's
Yeah.
been a challenge. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. The younger generation is a little bit different because they are fighting against social media. And, society has always tried to depict who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're constantly combating that. And so, as much as possible for those who might have younger children who might be dealing with that, I would just say what really get to the core of who they are, what makes you smile,
Yeah.
how can you show up authentically you? And my daughter went to a school that actually had, um, it was a uniform school. So to express herself, she would wear shoes and, jewelry and
Yeah.
different things like that. So what gives you the freedom to be who you are and be
Yeah.
that, despite be bold, show up you authentically. So
Yeah. And I think right now the great resignation,
mhm.
my husband is a HR director or recruiter, and it's like nothing he's ever seen before. People just
Yeah.
leaving and starting over
Mhm.
in different areas. And I think that's amazing to see. It's
Yeah.
been fun to watch our society realize what you just said, do
Yeah.
what makes you happy.
Yeah. And yeah, I was going to say, Erin, you bring up a great point. I just read an article the other day about the Great Resignation and how even small business ownership is on the rise. And
Hmm.
one of the largest growing demographics right now are African American women.
Yep.
And
I
so,
saw that.
we're starting to see this spike in this trend in small business ownership and just really going after what makes you happy. And I think that for the first time in our lives, we're kind of breaking out of the molds and out of the norm of what society is telling us that we should be. And I do believe this next generation is really pushing the envelope a little bit more than us.
Yep. Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I agree.
And it's like one of the things that I wanted to kind of circle back to that you had said earlier, Angela, is going back to mindset.
Hmm.
And for those people who maybe didn't hear what you were talking about, when you were saying you can choose to say negative things to yourself, or you can choose to be a positive person and
Yeah,
put a positive spin on how you're talking to yourself,
yeah,
because what's between our two ears can sometimes be the worst enemy that we have,
yeah.
and in comparison. So thank you for bringing that up, because it's like that imposter syndrome and all the other things that, especially as women, I
That's right.
think that we are harder on ourselves and related to that,
Hmm.
uh, than men have a tendency to kind of blow things off. And I think we kind of have a tendency to hold on to a
Right.
lot more than
Right.
we probably should.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And, I was just having a conversation about that today, Wanda. How, even you think about our past experiences kind of shape who we are and impact how we show up. And so, spending time with relatives or sometimes like that can definitely kind of illuminate that. And so, to your
Mhm.
point, having that growth mindset and looking at ways that we can constantly sh- you know the ways that we can show up differently. So I'm always, at the end of the day, I always do a what am I grateful for? What could I do differently? And when we're going through tough seasons in life, to your point, we can be extremely hard on ourselves and
Mhm.
beat ourselves up. But instead, think about. I always say I try not to use the word fail. Right? I always think, what did I learn in this
Mhm.
situation? And if I'm able to identify the lessons that I've learned through any situation, that means that I won't. Chances are I probably won't repeat that lesson. But
Yes.
sometimes when we're going through these tough seasons, we don't see the lessons. We only see the hurt and the pain. So, but if
Right.
we focus on the lessons, focus on what we're grateful for, then we're refining who we are, and ideally, the next day, we're able to show up a little better, a little differently, and we're able to conquer and cultivate.
And to your
Yeah.
point, Angela, it's very funny, but over the last week, I have seen over and over the quote, whoever said it first, about, the toughest times was when I learned the most.
Hmm.
And I think, I'm reading a book that's about Georgia O'Keeffe, and how, she didn't listen to anyone, and she had some really tough times, but she learned the most. She didn't give into
Hmm.
social norms. And, I was watching a show and the same quote came up. And so I think it's tough, to be thankful and grateful in that moment. But man, do you learn a lot more when you've had to really work for it. So
Right, right, right.
Well, ladies, it's I know that we said we would be on for 30 minutes today. We're a little over time, but if there are people out there that have any burning questions that they would like to ask Angela, I'm sure she would take a few minutes to talk about anything that you might have questions on, especially related to the whole topic of change and clarity and
Hmm.
chaos and cultivating, and how can you take control of your life during these crazy times that
Hmm.
we're all facing.
Hmm.
So if we see any questions, we'll certainly answer those. And if you're joining us on the replay, and you have questions, please still put them into the message box on
Hmm.
whatever platform you're joining us on. And I will make sure that Angela sees them and can get back to you and answer any questions that you might have. And
Hmm.
Angela, it has been so awesome to have you here with us today. I truly appreciate it. And I want to say, Erin, thank you so much. I know you're traveling and you're tuning in from San Antonio on your laptop,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like we're dealing with technology, and sometimes it gives you that blurred feature
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
But it's
And I'm thankful for it.
we can hear you clearly, so it's all awesome.
Oh, good,
But thank
good,
you
good.
so much for being here as well. Really, truly appreciate it. You brought so much engagement to our conversation today. So I don't see that there's any new questions coming through on the chat. So we will go ahead and wrap it up then. And I just want to say if you like this show and you want to tune in to future shows, we are here every Monday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and also Facebook. So please come and join the conversations that we're having because they're amazing with amazing people like Angela and Erin and answering questions and also discussing so that you can learn on new topics. So if you would like to get more information, just text if I could spit that out, Market Coach 22828. And that will get you on our subscriber list so that we can let you know about the future shows. Also, please be sure to follow all of us on social media. We'd love to connect with you. And I want to say one more time, thank you, ladies. Really appreciate it. And thank you for those who have joined us live and asked some awesome questions and joined the chat as well. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. We will see everybody next Monday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the Strategize Your Success show.